Principles Show daily podcast by and for you.
Hey everyone. Okay, get this. A cancer treatment, right? But it works better than chemo, has way fewer side effects, and is way more affordable. Yeah, so we're talking about a potential breakthrough. It's coming out of Iran, and it's got everyone buzzing. And this isn't just some sci-fi concept, right? We've actually got an article from the BRICS joint website. That group with Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Yeah, well, they're reporting on a new drug that could mean people with certain cancers, they might live longer, have fewer side effects, and all at a fraction of the cost of what's available now. It's really something.
It really is. What I think is so fascinating here is that it's not just about the science, although that's certainly groundbreaking, don't get me wrong. It's about the potential global impact, particularly for those who can't afford the, sky-high prices of a lot of cancer treatments today. This could be a real game changer in terms of access and affordability.
Okay, so let's break this down. This new drug is called Tedarox, and it was developed by Iranian scientists. And to understand why it's such a big deal, we need to talk about traditional chemotherapy for a second. I mean, we all know someone, right, who has gone through chemo, and it can be incredibly tough. The side effects, like the hair loss, the nausea, the exhaustion, I mean, they could be just as difficult to deal with as the disease itself.
Absolutely. And that's why the development of more targeted therapies like this Tedarox is so exciting, This new drug uses something called antibody-drug conjugate technology, or ADC for short, and it represents a major departure from traditional chemotherapy.
ADC, that sounds pretty intense. So how does it work? Is it like some kind of super chemo?
Well, think of it like this. Traditional chemotherapy is like, using a hammer to kill a fly. You might get the job done, but you're going to cause a lot of collateral damage, right? Tedarox, on the other hand, is more like a smart bomb. It uses antibodies, which are like guided missiles, to deliver a tiny but potent dose of medication directly to the cancer cells, and it leaves the healthy cells relatively unharmed.
Okay, so it's like a guided missile that targets cancer cells specifically. That's amazing. And this targeted approach means fewer side effects, right?
Exactly. And that's one of the most exciting aspects of this new drug. Early results suggest that Tedarox is not only effective in targeting and destroying cancer cells, but it also it significantly reduces those really debilitating side effects that are often associated with traditional chemotherapy. So we're talking about the potential for a better quality of life during treatment.
That's incredible. And on top of all of that, you mentioned affordability. Just how much cheaper is this drug compared to what's currently out there?
Well, the developers of Tedarox, they've made affordability a top priority, you see. Imagine a drug that could cost 15 times less than current options. That's the potential of Tedarox. We're talking about a difference of thousands of dollars.
This is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So not only is it potentially more effective, but it could be available at a fraction of the cost. Talk about a win-win, right?
Yeah.
This has the potential to completely change the landscape of cancer treatment as we know it.
Absolutely. And it really, it underscores the need for affordable healthcare solutions on a global scale, right? This is especially crucial for patients in developing countries, where access to advanced and expensive treatments is often limited, Tedarox could provide a lifeline for those who previously had very, very limited options.
That's a really, really important point. But okay, before we get ahead of ourselves, Ron,
Right, yeah.
I know you're all about measured optimism, right? So while these initial findings about Tedarox are incredibly promising, are there any potential downsides or challenges that we need to consider?
Yeah. No, you're right. It's important to approach this with a healthy dose of cautious optimism for sure. While the early results are, incredibly encouraging, we need more data. We need more extensive research to really confirm its long-term effectiveness and safety. Larger scale clinical trials are going to be crucial to validate these initial findings and to assess any potential long-term effects.
So more research is needed.
Yeah.
Got it. But let's dive a little deeper into the science for a moment, if you don't mind. I'm curious, are there other promising treatments like Tedarox on the horizon? Or is this truly a one-of-a-kind breakthrough?
That's a great question. Tedarox is definitely a shining example of targeted therapy. But it's not alone. There's a whole world of, exciting research and development happening in this field. Scientists are constantly working to identify new targets on cancer cells and develop even more sophisticated delivery systems. So it's a rapidly evolving area with immense potential.
So we're potentially on the cusp of a whole new era in cancer treatment. That's incredibly hopeful. But are there any specific challenges or hurdles that researchers are facing in developing these new therapies?
Well, one of the biggest challenges is ensuring that these targeted therapies, that they're effective against, a wide range of cancer cells. Cancer is incredibly complex, right? And what works for one type might not work for another. Additionally, there's always the challenge of, preventing cancer cells from developing resistance to these new treatments. We've seen this happen with traditional chemotherapy, where cancer cells can mutate and evolve, and that makes them less responsive to treatment.
That makes sense. So how do researchers plan to overcome these challenges?
Well, one promising approach is to combine different targeted therapies, much like how combination therapy is used with traditional chemotherapy, So by targeting multiple weaknesses in cancer cells simultaneously, researchers hope to increase effectiveness and reduce the risk of resistance.
So a multi-pronged approach. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room, right? We've mentioned the potential cost savings of Tetarox. But realistically, how might this impact the pharmaceutical industry? Could we see a ripple effect where other companies feel pressured to lower prices on life-saving medications?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The emergence of a drug like Tetarox, developed and produced at a significantly lower cost, could disrupt the current pharmaceutical landscape. It raises important questions about pricing structures, access to essential medicines, and the role of innovation in healthcare.
It sounds like Tetarox could be a catalyst for positive change, not just in how we treat cancer, but also in how we approach healthcare affordability on a global scale, right? This could have far-reaching implications for patients, healthcare providers, and the pharmaceutical industry as a whole. It's like we're actually witnessing a seismic shift in healthcare, right? Right before our eyes. It's exciting, but it's also a little bit daunting,
Yeah, I agree. It challenges the status quo, and it forces us to reconsider, all those long-held assumptions about drug development and pricing and access and the implications, They go way beyond just cancer treatment. This could have a ripple effect on, how we approach the development and distribution of life-saving medications for a whole range of diseases.
It's like opening Pandora's box.
Oh, that's
right? But in a good way, hopefully. It makes you wonder, what other groundbreaking innovations are out there just waiting to be discovered? And maybe even more importantly, how do we ensure that these innovations, they actually reach the people who need them most, regardless of, where they live or their financial situation?
That is the million-dollar question. And it's one that, we need to address it, I think, collectively as a global community. Because healthcare, it's a human right. It's not a privilege.
Well said. So, as we wrap up our deep dive into Tetarox, what's the one key takeaway you want to leave our listeners with? What's the thing that, should be swirling around in their heads long after this episode is over?
I think the most important takeaway is that we're living in an era of unprecedented scientific advancement. And Tetarox is just one example of what's possible, right? When innovation, it meets a commitment to affordability and accessibility. It's a beacon of hope for patients, I think, worldwide. And it serves as a powerful reminder that breakthroughs, they can emerge from unexpected places. They challenge the established order and they drive progress in healthcare.
Absolutely. It's a testament to the power of human ingenuity and collaboration. And for our listener out there, I'll leave you with this thought. If this one discovery, right, has the potential to reshape the future of healthcare, imagine what other groundbreaking innovations are just waiting to be unearthed. It's an exciting time to be alive, folks, and we're just at the beginning of this incredible journey. That's your deep dive for today. Until next time, stay curious.